It's gonna be a rough ride.
Give up my day job.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, good morning all. We're online, live and in touch, so to speak. 10:37. Commissioner Hugel is going to do the invocation and Commissioner Scott will do the pledge. Anyone who wishes to join in is welcome to do so.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, O Lord, as we make decisions that might affect the residents of Berrien County, and continue to remind us that all we do here today, all we accomplish, is in the pursuit of truth and the greater glory of you, and to the service of humanity. We ask these things in your heavenly name. Amen.
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 Thank you, Chris. Ezra?
Would everyone please join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chickering.
Here.
Curran.
Here.
Freeling.
Here.
Harrison.
Here.
Hugo.
Here.
Hinkleman.
Here.
Majeri.
Here.
Meeks.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
Allred.
Here.
Yarborough.
Mamie?
Amy, are you on?
Yarborough.
Muted.
Present.
Okay.
Elliott.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have 12 present.
Thank you. We have a full house, figuratively. Communications, Madam Clerk.
You forgot minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any changes to the minutes that we mailed out last Friday? If not, is there a motion to approve the minutes as submitted by the clerk? Moved by Meeks, supported by Hugel. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chickering.
Yes.
Curran.
Yes.
Freeling.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Hugo.
Yes.
Hinkleman.
Yes.
Majeri.
Yes.
Meeks.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Allred.
Yes.
Yarborough.
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas.
Thank you. Now, communications.
We received over 70 emails with the same communication from the same email address, advocacy@bluestatedigital.com, with different names and no addresses regarding Michigandans deserve a fair election in November and beyond, received on August 18th and 19th. I did do a qualified voter check on 20 of those letters. The first 20 we received, only 3 were from Berrien County.
Very good, thank you.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
could it also be noted in the minutes that when they send in these communications, is that not like public comments where they have to at least say where they're from in Berrien County? We could be getting emails from advocacy groups from all over the state or the United States on this.
I think the thing speaks for itself in terms of the method and the redundant nature of the communication, but we still receive it and note it as received.
And,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
did research on that email address. It's a email service which creates sample letters. Looking at it like last night, yesterday, we got one same name. I think we got 20 or 30 of the same name. Yeah. And that was not part of the 70. So, but what concerns me with the elections going on, which goes into my mailbox, I've got a lot of voter applications, AB requests, and everything else, and I am getting a little concerned on that they're just jamming up.
Okay.
We are working with IS on that situation.
Any other
No,
communications?
that's it.
All right, with that then, we'll hear from the treasurer about the tax foreclosure update. Shelley?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay. Tax foreclosure went a little different than usual in other years. This year I have about roughly 190 properties. I have 22 occupied structures, 19 unoccupied, and 149 lots. Due to the circumstances of COVID and everything this year, normally we have a live auction. This year, we will not be able to have the live auction. It will be an online only. I have gone to an outside vendor. It's called taxsale.info. And they do 80% of the Michigan counties that use this service. The auction itself will be held on Saturday, September 26th. Bidding can begin up to 30 days prior to the auction. You can start bidding on anything, searching the properties and so forth. Then on that Saturday, from 10 a.m. until 7 p.m., the bidding goes live. So, to register, there's a $1,000 credit card pre-authorization to ensure payment of that purchase. They do not charge your card until the day of the auction. At the end of the auction, the winning bidder will receive an email indicating that he is the winning bidder. He will have 5 business days to pay. If he doesn't follow through, the $1,000 deposit is not returned. There's no charge to the county for this service. All fees are absorbed through the bidder. There's an additional 10% charge to the bidder, along with the credit card service charge, and the $30 recording fee of the deed is charged to that bidder. That bidder will also sign an affidavit stating he has no delinquent taxes, and he'll also have to pay the 2020 summer taxes prior to receiving the deed. That is statute, both of those things. Berrien County will receive the auction proceeds within 21 days of the auction. And then any leftover parcels that we have, a second auction will be held on November 3rd, which will go statewide. Also this year, we will not be doing any demos on auction properties, mainly due to, once we try to determine the effect of the Raffaele versus Oakland County Supreme Court ruling, we don't know what effect that's gonna have on our foreclosure fund. So that notice will be going out to the local units, letting them know we won't be doing any demos. And that's an update on the foreclosure.
Thanks, Shelley. Any questions?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Mimi Yarborough. Is there anywhere we can read this or see it? Is it on the website?
We are working right now to get it online. We're working with the company. They should have it up and running within probably a week. So we're finalizing all the properties, and then they will have everything put on the website. They will also go out and post each property with their own sign, giving all the information in regards to the auction.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have one, Shelley. Would you be able to check with the company, online auctions? If they use $1,000 hold on their credit card and then they end up with the auction property and then they have second thoughts. You said that they're going to lose that $1,000 or whatever. What effects do that have if they decide to call the credit card company and say, cancel this charge?
The vendor that we're using, they handle all of that. They take care of everything. I mean, we pretty much just hand them the list and they handle all the money transactions and so forth. They can also pay, they can wire money or use a cashier's check as well when paying for the purchase. They don't necessarily have to use that credit card to buy the property.
Okay, that's what I was wondering about because, people can always come up and I'm just worried about that. People could always come up on a credit card and say, hey, disallow that charge or whatever. I'm contesting it. That was my only question. Thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else? Next item is public comments regarding resolutions, so we'll wait a moment, see if anything percolates through from anyone who's watching, listening. We don't have any headed resolutions, do we? No.
All right, I've asked like 3 times, I believe, if there are any comments about the resolutions that will be voted on today, and we do not have any comments about that.
Okay, thank you. With that, no comments from the public about the resolutions on the agenda. There are no added resolutions. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar as submitted?
I'll make that motion. Volrath.
Moved by Volrath, support.
I'll support.
Support by Hugel. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question on the requisitions. There would be 45137 and 45140.
Yours, Shelley.
King and Associates and Alvaro Espinoza. That's the mowing of foreclosed properties. Are the dates correct on there? So for King and Associates, it's 4 months of mowing, from 8 to 12/31, which I don't know why we're mowing in December for $8,000. And the next one is the same dates, for $7,000.
Ezra, I think those may be blanket POs, but I'll defer to someone who probably knows more than I.
Yeah, that's.
Those are blanket POs for the mowing.
Okay.
They'll expire December 31st, but we won't be, we'll be done. It's mainly to get it up through until the property is purchased.
All right, thank you. That's all I had.
Other questions? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Curran,
Yes.
Freeling,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Hugel,
Yes.
Hinkleman,
Yes.
Majeri,
Yes.
Meeks.
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Ballrat,
Yes.
Yarborough,
Yes.
Chicory,
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes,
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas.
thank you. Jill, you're welcome to hang around if you want. Whatever up to you. We're now at committee reports. PHS, Bill Chickering.
Thank you, Mac. On Monday, we met virtually. We passed several resolutions which have been part of the consent calendar from the Health Department, and an advanced step higher for the Road Department. We had a dialogue with Brian Bailey about a suggested event at the courthouse, which I think Mac or Brian, I've kind of teed up with you guys and Jim Curran for discussion at some other point, so I'm not going to go into it at this point. I think that was about it. Dave, Terry, anything you'd like to add?
I don't have anything.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
That's our report.
I don't know, Bill, is now an appropriate time to bring up the Historical Society?
Hi, Jim. We could. I'm really looking for some guidance from Mac and Brian in terms of how we would possibly communicate Bree's memo as background to the commissioners, or whether we should just go ahead and have the discussion. I will defer to their leadership.
I'm easy on this. Whatever you're comfortable with is fine with me. But I think everybody needs to get up to speed on it because, for one thing, the invitations have already been sent for this upcoming event. The barn door being closed, the horses are already out in the field. So, Brian, do you want to take a shot at it?
Yeah, so members of the board, PHSC discussed an event that's planned by the Berrien County Historical Association. The theme is All That Jazz. It is their signature event. It's a major fundraiser for the organization. The deadline to purchase tickets for the dinner is September 8th. The event is scheduled to be held on September 17th. So not a lot of time in between today's meeting and the event. To complicate the issue, the invitations have been sent, news releases have been sent, and in today's Herald Palladium, there is a lengthy story about the upcoming event. So that's just a little bit of background. The event planners have given great consideration to the COVID-19 situation, and they have attempted to plan an event that keeps attendees safe. Attendees are encouraged to participate virtually via Zoom, but there are likely to be attendees on site, and then also there will be volunteers delivering supplies to the various virtual attendees. Jim, have I summarized this decently?
Yeah, that's pretty close. The Historical Board, we spent a lot of discussion on this topic, and it was months ago, so we didn't know exactly where we were going to be at with the governor's executive orders. So the Historical Board at that time decided to do whatever was required through the governor's executive orders. And so at that time, we went ahead and proceeded with both in-person and virtual rather than all virtual. We had, again, quite some discussion at the board level about the precautions to be taken. First off, the tickets have to be purchased in advance, whether they're going to attend virtually or in person. So the in-person attendance can be regulated. It's an outside event, so we're looking at 100 people or less. Because they purchase the tickets in advance, they'll know how many people they're going to have, and they can also regulate that number. As far as precautions on site, Obviously, the social distancing is in place. The tables are being placed 10 feet apart. The seating is 6 feet apart. The dinners are already pre-packaged and boxed, and they're merely delivered to the table, and then the participant can sit at the table and eat their dinner. On any kind of beverages or refill of beverages, they make their request to the staff, and the staff will bring it over to them. So there's not a lot of up and down movement, not a lot of commingling, and so they could practice that as well. At the time we discussed it, we said as long as we were going to comply with the governor's executive orders, we didn't see a problem with it. And the issue didn't come up until Brian Bailey with Parks informed them that they could not have in person. And so that's why we're bringing the issue up today, is I guess to get an okay to do that, as long as all the precautions and the number of attendees are monitored. We, at the historical board, didn't think it was a problem as long as we complied with everything. So I guess we're kind of asking the full board for their blessings to move forward as is.
Bill, does PHS have a recommendation to the full board?
I will, I'll state our recommendation to the board. I think there are certain things that the invitation that has gone out prematurely raises concerns. It sounds like a dance costume party, but I'll leave that to Jim and the board. When we talked to PSC with Brian and Shelley and Brian Bailey, it was our conclusion that because large group gatherings have been canceled at all of our county parks in all respects for all of the season, we found it inconsistent with the position that the parks had taken in terms of large group gatherings. It had nothing to do with the preparation of the planning or any of that. It was as simple as saying, we feel there's been a position taken by Berrien County and the parks that we're not going to sponsor large group gatherings. Now I'll call on Terry and Dave if they wish to give you their input, but that was.
Okay, Terry, then Dave.
Dave's already gone.
Oh, Dave, oh yeah, Dave went to the MAC meeting, okay, then Terry?
I think that Commissioner Chickering stated it clearly. I went back and I looked at our COVID preparedness and readiness plan for the county, looked at who is the point of contact for our parks, which is our parks director, taking his recommendation into consideration and having discussion in our committee. I felt like it would have given a mixed message, and I think that the whole committee felt the same way, giving a mixed message with regards to what our policy is for any gatherings on county property in that way. I support our Berrien County Historical Society. I've attended this event in the past, but I think for the sake of just having continuity, the approach from the committee was just to say virtual only.
Michael?
Yeah, can I ask, when do you guys perceive that this opening will happen with the parks in the future? I mean, do you have a set date, or is it just vote as we go, or I'm not sure. I understand when the conclusion comes up.
Mr. Chair, I can address it.
Mike, that's a great question, and the answer is I don't think we know the answer.
No.
Stand by 1 second. Go. Yes, go ahead.
Mamie Yarbrough. I'm
Yes,
on
ma'am.
the Parks Committee, and so is Commissioner Chickering. That's nothing that, we haven't met in a long time. That's nothing that came up to us for approval or anything, did it, Bill?
No,
No, it's nothing we've discussed. But I know everything has been stopped at, what I usually go to Shadowland and the disc and all those kinds of things. Are they back doing the tossing the disc thing? I can't think, the golf, at Madison.
there's no event.
A lot of things have been canceled and we're not doing any outside things at the property. And I received the information and didn't think much about the fact that we were gathering. I think I kept reading it to understand it, but it sounded like to me it's out of sync, that it should not be.
So members of the board, just some follow-up statements on Commissioner Majerik's question. The county parks will continue to modify their operations based on the governor's order. The governor's orders have continued, the executive orders are in place, and so the county parks have been limiting operations, trying their very best to comply with the governor's orders. Throughout the summer, as recently as the past few days, they have limited capacity at the Silver Beach County Park. We have capped parking by 50%. So literally, we're only allowing half of the vehicles to park at Silver Beach that we would normally allow. So the county has led the way in pulling back the potential for revenue by trying to comply with those executive orders. And this is something that Brian and his team are monitoring on a weekly basis. To his credit, Brian brought this to my attention over the last week. We worked with PHSC to get it onto their schedule. At the same time that Brian and I were looking at this event, we were also noticing that the Apples Cider Century had just announced that they were shutting down for this year because of concerns about COVID-19.
Yeah.
So it felt very appropriate to get this in front of PHSC and just ask for guidance. Now, the complicating factor here is just time. The Historical Association, I think, did a very good job of planning an event. I think they did a very good job of trying to modify their signature event despite the COVID-19 situation. The problem that we're running into is, the barn door is open. The notices have gone out. It is in the newspaper today, and we are asking them to pivot with just a couple of weeks before their event. Now, with that said, I do think that it does make sense to try our very best to keep this to a virtual event. That is something that just about every event organizer has done within Marion County. And you can point to the triathlons, you can point to the various bike races, 5Ks, and on and on. Throughout the summer, everything has been shut down. So this is one I do feel bad for the organizers because there's not a lot of time to pivot, but PHSC's recommendation does make sense, and both myself and Brian had made that recommendation that it is a bad idea, that everyone else has said no, and we're allowing this event to occur on public property.
And if I may comment to that, the Historical Society is under the Parks Board, but we kind of view them a little differently.
Yep.
They are kind of a different animal. And, don't anyone think that the Historical Board was trying to do anything against the county wishes. Again, at the time, months ago, when we were planning this, or the board was planning this, the key message was to comply with the governor's executive orders. And because they have to call in and acquire a ticket, that those numbers could be monitored or regulated if they wanted to be. And personally, they asked me my opinion, and I said, as long as you're complying with the governor's executive orders, I don't see a problem with it. And it didn't become a problem until Brian told them a week ago that they could not have the in-person part of the event. I understand, you know, the wishes of the board, that's fine. Because they have to call in their tickets anyway, they can just be advised that there is no in-person event. They gotta do it virtually. So they'll adapt. I mean, that's fine. But I hope this board doesn't kind of look negatively on the historical board, because I don't think at the time it was an issue.
Yeah.
And I personally don't think it's an issue, but
And-
I respect the wishes of the board. If the board says no, that's fine. We'll just tell them to adapt. Not a problem.
And they can have it, they just can't have it on the park.
Sure, they'll have everything virtually then.
Or somewhere else.
Anyone have any thoughts? Anyone who hasn't been heard from?
Mac, Commissioner
Yes.
Scott, you know, it's a situation like this that this board, in my belief, needs to have the leadership and just come out and say, with the board vote up or down, yes or no, we need to comply with the governor's orders. Whether we like them or not, we need to comply with them. This is a different era that we're living in right now. And I guess I'll say this too shall pass at some point in time. But I think this board just needs to, we need to look out for the safety of all the residents of Berrien County and also of the tourists who come to Berrien County. And our decisions, you know, need to go along those guidelines.
Need a resolution? Do we need a resolution
To do this?
to officially say no?
No, I don't think so. No, I think that's within the authority of the county administrator to say no. And I brought it to the whole board.
Yeah.
Because I thought, okay, maybe the whole board might see it differently, but they don't, and that's fine.
Okay. All right, so Brian, based on the recommendation you received from Brian Bailey, as well as your independent assessment, what is your position?
I would affirm the PHSC's decision. And unless this board tells me otherwise, I will connect with the team down at the Historical Association today and say, this is the ruling. They were notified earlier this week. They requested that the board be asked to consider essentially an appeal. And I will let them know that the board actively discussed it, and unfortunately, the decision from PHSC stands. I'll then encourage them, host your event, do it virtually, and anything that they can get to me for us to push out to the public, we will happily do so to try and help them have a successful event.
And Matt, I talked to their executive director prior to the meeting this morning, and basically said, can you live with that? Can you make this work? And she said, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
All right, so then, this board is declining to exercise its prerogative to carve out an exception, and is having this go forward then virtually.
can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
What's the official answer? Why are we saying no? Stay consistent with parks? Is that the answer?
Yeah, give me a few minutes to wordsmith it.
Give you a bit to think about.
I want to go back and look at PHSC's meeting minutes because I know the language is there.
Okay.
And I'll see what was already sent to them before I wing it.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
And based on the briefing prior to the meeting this morning from Bill Chickering, Chair of PHS, I'm quite comfortable saying that we adopt the recommendation of that committee as well as the administrator. Is everybody good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Fine with it.
Okay. All right, well, let's go on to finance. Madam Chair, what
Yes.
say you?
Thank you. We had a finance committee meeting. First on our agenda was Todd Johnson, the supervisor of building and grounds. He gave us an update on construction at the jail. Just a few points. It's now 16% higher than the original contract cost for unforeseen and unexpected things that needed to be done or whatever. He says there will be concessions. There were concessions, and it's keeping track of everything with the change orders and all. They have been working on this for 2.5 years, and it was supposed to have been done in 18 months. He expects that it's scheduled now to be done by October. So we'll have to pray and hope that happens. Then we met with Chris Swihart. We had a bid that we put out August 5th for a rack, something to do with the mainframe. And there were 5 bids received. And so it was very technical, and we took the time for the director of IS department to go through this. With his staff, they looked at all the bids, and they came down to 2 companies that they were very much interested in. One was Frontier, and the other one was called Logicalis. And the Logicalis they're familiar with, and it was highly recommended, and it includes training. And so that is the company that they want to go with. And the amount for that piece is $391,995.76. But it will fit the need, and it includes the equipment as well as training and service. And with it, they'll have 6 licenses. We voted on that, and it passed. Does it come to the whole board committee? And that's it. He's going to order it now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Then next we talked to Chris Swihart about Adobe. This is a request from Administrator Doucette. He would like very much for us to have that system. And Chris said that it's on the PDF, but to make it wider, there is some cost. One license doesn't cost much, but a number of licenses. And so what they came to is Administrator Doucette and Chris Swihart will poll the department heads and all and see what is needed. But we will go with the Adobe because Administrator Doucette says it makes things easier for us rather than having so many attachments and all. Things can be placed into 1 or 2 things and make it more efficient. And it's what our administrator is used to working with. He hasn't asked for much yet. So this is something that we agree that they should look into it and see about having it done. We're still on the mainframe, and Chris Swihart gave us some hopes of what will happen. And there's some kind of big bet going on about if the jail will be done or the mainframe will be done, whichever first. But the drain should be totally on or totally off by the end of the year. The pension is uploaded by the end of the month, and it should be completed by the end of the year. And Shelley and Olivia have been working with the IS department to get that done. And then there's some kind of auction, something with the sheriff. So Sheriff and Boyce and Miller are working on that application change, and it should be moving off the mainframe also. Still, the main thing left on it are courts, prosecutor, civil, probate, all that to do with the courts. And they hope to go live with that for the first week of December. There are a lot of things that he told us about, dates and years and all that. Let me see what else. Oh, we had public comments. There was one public comment. Oh no, this is the thing where we got all those. We added new board appointments. On the land preservation, they only met maybe one time last year. They don't meet a lot, but it is a need. And Commissioner Hinkleman is a member of that board, and he's familiar with the attendance and the people that are on it. And his recommendation, and we accept that, is that we keep the board just as it is. The people will come, and when there is something to discuss. And then we had a seat that's um, expiring on the Trust Advisory Pension Board of James Roberts. And we recommended that he be reappointed. Very good member, and it's a real good committee. We have 3 citizens that contribute to that. And this term is up, and he was contacted and would like to continue, and we'd like to have him to continue. And then that's when we had public comments about creating some kind of citizens committee for the jail. Oh, and then with the, this was so unusual, there was a bid made, we opened last week for repairing the parking lot at South County and Niles at the courthouse. And both bids came in at the same amount of $10,400. There were 2 bids and they came in at the same amount. And what has been agreed to is that we'll do a coin toss as soon as possible to determine which of those companies will do the repairs. And that was, that was the end of our committee meeting. Ask if there are anything.
Any questions for finance?
Mac, Commissioner
Yes.
Scott, I would like to make it well known that it was decided in our meeting that Annette will do the coin flip. I believe it's other duties as recommended or something. So that was all.
Assigned.
Yeah, as assigned. That was it. Thank you, Bob. Other duties as assigned.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That should be a great comfort to the bidders.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't be. It's a compliment. All right, so if there's nothing else from finance or comments, questions for finance, any commissioner have a report that they would like to make? Yes, ma'am.
Mimi Yarbrough. I attended a lovely event last Thursday. It was virtual and it was with the Heritage Center and it was about suffrage. They had a lady that's a presenter, a speaker, and she dressed the way they would have dressed in 1892. That's my favorite number. But this is the 100th year for suffrage. And she gave us great information and showed slides and all of that. And it was well done. And there were a number of people online listening and asking questions. And I compliment the young lady that's our director. She has such enthusiasm and she's really connected with people that can bring good information. So I attended that because I wanted to know about more about it. I'd watched PBS with a number of series. So I look forward to attending the event that they have. And I hope the weather soon, the COVID soon clears up so that we can use the spaces and go to the Heritage Center. Thank you. No, that's not the name of it. The Berrien County Historical Museum Park.
Association. Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Freeling.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to give a brief update. Right now, the Michigan Association of Counties is hosting its virtual conference. This is when we would typically go in the fall for MAC updates. And I just wanted to talk about the first couple of breakout sessions that they've had thus far. One that I wanted to make point of is that they are at MAC working very hard on updating their salary survey that they were doing for the sheriff's unit. I believe that's one of the components that we as a board, when we were doing our salary survey, had discussions, and the Michigan Association of Counties is working on that. So I don't have a timeline of when that's going to be completed, but I just wanted to update the board on that. This morning's discussion was about transportation and transportation funding. I had to leave that one a little bit early so I could attend this morning's meeting, but all of these sessions will be posted on the MAX website at a later date so that those commissioners who have interest are welcome to go ahead and review those. That's my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jim, did you have something?
Yeah, Brian forwarded us the article in the Herald Palladium, and I just want to point out, it's a nice article, but I want to point out one sentence in here from the executive director of the Historical Society. She said that they are ready to hold the event entirely virtual if needed. So I think they will adapt.
Very good. Anyone else have anything under commissioner reports? Hearing none, administrator report. Brian, you have anything?
Yeah, just very quickly to the board. I've sent you all an invite from the road department. There will be a groundbreaking event celebrating the Red Arrow and Union Pier Improvement Project that's set to occur on August 27th at 2 p.m. If you take a look at your emails, there's more details on the event. If there's any questions, feel free to give me a shout. Since we spent a fair amount of time talking about the Historical Association, I would like to point out I was in Berrien Springs yesterday. Our buildings and grounds crew have been taking steps to continue to spruce up the property at the county's site. Painting is underway and the site really looks great. So if you have a few minutes and want to stop by there and take a look, I would encourage you all to do so. Speaking of tours, the admin committee will be going with me after the board is wrapped. We'll be heading over for a tour of the court, specifically taking a look at front of the court and some of their space issues. And then lastly, on the whole topic of tours, Commissioner Harrison and I were thrilled yesterday. We spent about an hour and a half with some of the team members at the DC Cook plant. And we received a tour of the plant, just getting to see some of their operations. Really impressive site. I had never been to the Cook plant. I've been to Palisades a few times. Seeing the Cook plant, number one, I was struck by just how impressive the site is, how clean the site was, and honestly, I was amazed at how compressed the site is. You can see that AEP put a lot of thought into how they laid out their construction planning, trying to preserve the dune and trying to minimize the overall footprint. So really neat tour, and I'll be sending a thank you to the folks over at DC Cook just for allowing me to see the site. I know Commissioner Harrison was with me and he may have some thoughts to add. Those are my comments, sir.
Thank you. Bob, did you have anything to add?
No, they are such a great partner with the Emergency Operations Center, and we really do appreciate all that they do, on behalf of the community.
Anyone have any questions for Brian? You mentioned going to the friend of the court this afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Does FOC still have the currently unused space at the South County Courthouse?
I believe they do. I'll be bringing that up today with the administrator. That topic has come up with courts as well as with the health department. Just yesterday, I spent a little over an hour with the Niles City Manager, and that was a great conversation. And he also brought up the need to have as much service as possible at the Niles campus. So we will make sure that gets brought up today.
Be interested to know what sort of feedback you get, because we built that with the intention that it be used. And I understand it does involve some windshield time for some employees who would have to drive to work in Niles rather than working here. I appreciate that. And would simply note, some people do have to drive a little bit to get to work. And ultimately, that's a matter of choice, I suppose. If it's a job that you want and the job requires you to work in a different location, then you can choose to do that or not. But I'm concerned about taking on costs for renting property or for building out in the North County courthouse for space. And I recognize some people are almost like they're in bunk beds with some of these offices. I mean, they're not literally stacked on top of each other, but pretty darn close. So maybe one of the things we could do is make use of that rather chronically underutilized space in Niles. So just a thought as you all go over there. Yes, sir, Michael.
We do have people that live in Niles too. that
Yeah.
employees.
Yeah, well, and there's, I mean, just with the criminal caseload, I think 30% of the cases are in Niles. Not saying Niles is a high crime venue, it's just the population in Niles City, Niles Township, it's probably 25,000 people or thereabouts. And that's about a sixth of the county. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to lose sight that we have resources at the ready. So, anyone have anything else on that, on the tour by admin or any of the other matters we've been discussing?
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Freeling. Another site to consider, particularly for the health department in their space discussion, could also be the Three Oaks office, to be able to utilize that space as well. I just wanted to note that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything on this subject? If not, we'll segue to general public comments. Anything under the sun, so to speak?
Tony Benhart from Sodas Township. The Planning Commission and the full board of Pipestone Township both denied the building of a substation east of Eau Claire by I&M Power. Ask again for the other Okay, you're all set.
All right, very good. Other business. The night meeting on the 10th is now a day meeting here. And clerk, do you need anything to officially make that change in our postings? Or is this good enough?
I can just set their same chairperson,
Okay.
so it'll be a day meeting at 10.
Yep, virtual meeting with honored guests who wish to come in, board members like today. But it'll be on for 10:30 here instead of in the evening, wherever that was going to be. Was that out on Hillendale
It
Road?
was the Hager Center.
Oh, Hager, okay.
Oh, no, that was one before, wasn't it?
Well, in any event, it's going to be here on the 10th. The 3rd is still on the schedule. We will need to make a decision next week whether we want to meet on the 3rd or not. And,
You're gonna make me wait another week.
It's hard to
Well-
post one day and then not the third.
I'm trying to make plans. Did I mention that with grandma?
Sure.
well, the 3rd is scheduled to be here,
Okay.
Yeah.
not somewhere else.
Right.
Are you saying if we're gonna
If
cancel?
I
we
right
should
now
do
put it
now?
in, the posting with the 10th being changed, it'll be showing as a virtual meeting.
Okay,
Because
well,
otherwise it will be in limbo.
well, both would be virtual.
Right.
The question is whether we're going to meet on the 3rd. I mean, today is the 20th, the 3rd's 2 weeks away. If you want to go with that now and make a decision whether to meet or not meet on the 3rd, I'm fine either way. Anybody want to talk about it, or do you want to wait?
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Scott. I recommend that we cancel the Thursday, September 3rd Board of County Commissioners meeting, scheduled for 10:30 virtually.
And I second it no, I agree. I think we should say it now if we are gonna not do it.
Right.
All right. Okay.
Not-
have a question on that?
No, Commissioner Meeks has a question.
Well, what has been the participation on the virtual, how many people have actually viewed our meeting?
You mean in the public wise?
Yes, in the public wise.
Sure.
Is it up or down or what?
Yeah, it kind of goes all over the place. Today we had like 15 watching at one point.
Okay, that's really more than what we have really had sitting here. So we got more support by doing the virtual.
I mean, we don't know who's watching. It just
Well,
tells you the number.
okay, well, I'm going to try to make a point. If we
Okay.
got more people involved in it, why don't we keep more people involved in it?
But if we let them know,
Yeah, the question really,
let them know now, they'll know not to listen on the 3rd. They can,
okay,
Right.
when this was presented, 2 weeks ago, maybe?
yeah,
The question was, should we meet bumping up against the Labor Day weekend?
Oh, wow.
Because Labor Day comes late this year. And so that's really what it's about. And, you know, if somebody's going out of town or something like that, I mean, someone here, one of the board members, or Brian, it could impact a quorum. So if people have plans for the last holiday of the summer, we probably would be better to simply cancel it now. But there's a caveat, and that is if something comes up in Lansing and we have to meet, we can post and meet on 18 hours notice.
yeah.
So with that caveat, any other comments or opinions to share on whether to meet or not meet on the 3rd of September?
Okay, can we have the vote a week before, so everybody really knows what they have to do? Can we postpone that?
We can wait a week,
Make a decision?
or if there's a burning desire to do it today,
It gives more notice to people.
we can do that too, just to give people a little extra lead time, knowing we're not gonna be meeting.
I think that would be appropriate.
You okay with that, Don? If we do it today, up or
Yep.
down?
I would like to do it next week,
Okay,
because people's plans are pretty much what they're gonna do.
all right. Commissioner Meeks would like to wait till next week. Anyone else feel that way?
Mac, I think we ought to make a decision today.
All right.
I do too.
I've heard Mamie, Bill, Ezra have said that. Michael, Chris are wanting to do it today.
This is Bob Harrison. I'm okay with it as long as we also cancel the finance committee.
Oh, yes.
Finance committee.
They don't have one scheduled on that day, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Mamie, are you all right with canceling finance on the 3rd?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and I don't have anywhere to go, but just, it'd be good to know now that we're not.
All right. I think, we're-
I'm okay with whatever the group want to do,
all right.
but I just thought I'd put my 2 cents in.
All right, we are not meeting on the 3rd of September, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You-
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's
We are
it.
meeting, we are meeting on the 10th here,
All right,
At 10:30.
at 10:30.
okay,
Announcements and reminders, admin is meeting here at 12:30 today, as Brian mentioned, and they're gonna go on the field trip down to the courthouse and whatnot. And then, of course, we will be here next week at 10:30. Anybody have anything else? All right, it is 11:38. We stand adjourned to next Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Thank you, everyone.
thank you all. Take care.
Great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Annette.
And